Hello guys, welcome to the lecture. In this lecture we are going to apply the technique that we have learned before. In the previous lecture what I have used we will apply here. So let's get started. So first of all we need to go to the HTML file. Here you can see this is HTML file. We need to find an element called cpbtm items, and you can see this item we are going to work. So basically this div is actually this menu, which is called create pop-up box top menu item. So this is a top menu item inside a create pop-up box. So it has allies here, you can see, and inside the allies we have these div which we have created and images, and now we will display none these item. We will hide these item using display none property. And the first div, actually a div which we have created before, which is this image, and we have added image using class, using CSS background image property. We have added image through that property, and we have just add a class here and that image applied here. So we are going to wrap this div with the label, and we are going to create input, and input will be checkbox. Don't need a name attribute, and here we're going to add ID, and ID will be checkbox. So copy this checkbox ID and paste it inside the for attribute, and now these two elements is connected with each other. So let's open this up, cpbtm items. Here you can see the first li element. It has a left arrow icon, which is this. We are going to wrap this up inside the label. So add a label element. So now our element is wrapped inside the label element. So here we are going to add the same ID, because we need same effect happen when we click on these icons or image. We need to be same input to be triggered when we click on these label. Either we click on this label or this label, it should trigger the same input. So we will add a same ID in both labels. So save the file. Now refresh the page. You will see it has input here, and now the design is a little bit messy. So let's design up. So go to style and let's find tm item. I already add a class here, so find it. You will see it has li element we have created before, but we need to find this rule, and up here we are going to add our ID of input. We will say first remove the checkbox. Checkbox, actually input checkbox here we have created. We are going to remove it. So we simply just say display none. So that will hide our input. Now you can see it hide the input. Now here we are going to say hash checkbox, and when it's checked, add a adjacent combinator right after that input. If you go to HTML, you will see right after the input, this is the input, right after the input we have this cpbtm items div. We are going to trigger this, and we are going to select this, and we are going to say right after the input checkbox, give this cpbtm items. This is style. The style we apply here will affect this div. So here we are going to say display block, sorry, flex, because we want our item to be flex container, not a block. So here you can see we have just added a position absolute here, and we are going to add a display none that will hide our div. So we'll say display none, and here we are going to say z index. I will explain z index later, but you just add z index and add a value 1000. I will explain this later what this property do, but we just need to focus on this checkbox and label. So refresh it. Now you can see it's working, and when we click on this, it appears right below the div. We are going to add a class called flex1. So here inside the HTML we are going to add flex1 here. Save it and refresh it. Now we will add a width property, and we are going to say width will be 100%, and the CBBTM item wrap will have a position relative property which is top here, because we don't need our div to be stretched out from the pop-up box. So we'll say position relative. Save it. Let's refresh it. Nothing happened. Let's see what happened inside our HTML. So if you scroll down, we have label ID, but we need to add for attribute here. So we'll say for. So let's refresh it. Now it appear. Now when I click, it disappear. See, now we need to align this up right here. So let's do this. So let's go to the HTML file. You will see here we have added the div and label correctly, and here, but we didn't add this label. Little mistake has happened here, and you will see how this little mistake have done this. Break the style. Now it's working. When you click on this item, it remove the div, and you click on this div, I make this div appear. So that's is working fine. So what we have learned here, we have learned that the label which we have wrap here and which is connected through this ID with this checkbox is actually a div. The div is now acting as a label, and the label is connected with this checkbox, and this label is also connected with this checkbox. So when we have selected that state inside the CSS, which is a checked state, and using the pseudo class of checked, we have said when this input checkbox is checked, using adjacent combinator, we have said right after that input checkbox, search for CBBTM items, which comes right after that element, which is checkbox, and that div, when the input checkbox is checked, this div should have a display flex property. So when the checkbox is unchecked, make it display none. So that is why it's working. So when we refresh and see again, you can see it's working fine. So that's it for now, and if you have any question, you can ask me, and see you in the next lecture.